Hi my friends, how are you? It's Matt Christopher and welcome back to my channel. It's been quite some time since I did a video for my channel. So thank you very much for your love and support. And just a note on the channel, we are getting very close to 100,000 people that have viewed my humble little channel that hopefully will bring some light to the nefarious behaviour of Watchtower. And what we're going to talk about tonight, I think, shows the shocking lows that they've dropped to. In the time that we last spoke, many of you have seen the changes that have occurred within Watchtower. Some of the things that I suppose have shocked ones, especially like myself, is that the changes to the mandatory hour requirements or reporting of the hours, for those of you who may not be aware, active Jehovah's Witnesses needed to literally fill in a form every month in which they wrote down how many hours they spent in the door-to-door ministry, how many books or magazines that they had placed. And that actually was compiled and kept on file so that once a year the elders of the congregation would actually visit you and they would speak to you about your activity. And also, depending on how many hours that you spent, that would also indicate your level of spirituality if you're an able-bodied person, for instance, and then that would make you eligible in many ways to privileges within the congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. So it was very, very important for an active Jehovah's Witness to be getting the mandatory hours that needed to be collated each month. Now, for the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses to turn around and to say that that no longer is required and that all that is needed for publishers is for them to essentially indicate that they have been out in the work, the door-to-door work or other forms of ministry, is a turn of events that I don't think any of us ever saw coming. Now, the simple fact is this, that the Watchtower model of business has come to an end. Okay, it is moved from a publishing corporation and a commercial property holding organisation to a digital online entertainment and information network. That's really what it is, and I'm very sure that in the years to come it will have its own subscription style of arrangement, something like what you'd find maybe with Netflix or one of the other online businesses of that ilk. So what's so incredible about this is that Jehovah's Witnesses claimed that the counting of hours and the collating of hours came directly from God. The evidence apparently that they gave to back this was that, God knew all of the stars in the heavens. He'd numbered them all and named them all. There was the record in Genesis, the first book of the Bible, where the creative days were mentioned to indicate that God was a God of order, and that not reporting your hours, in a sense, was to show that you're unorderly and you're undisciplined, and that these hours were akin to our worship to God. Now, for them to go by the wayside after essentially 100 years or over 100 years it beggars belief. because those hour requirements, especially people that had families and that were had the obligation of looking after their families, obviously materially, to then be out in the ministry and needing to reach certain hour requirements just to hold their position in the congregation, to find out now that isn't even something that they're interested in anymore. So future Jehovah's Witnesses won't even know what one is talking about when it comes to our requirements. Now, what was really interesting is one of the videos that has been produced by jw.org is of a Jehovah's Witness woman who talks about when she became a Jehovah's Witness and she went into the Kingdom Hall and there was a board with everybody's name on that board, that is members of the congregation, and the hours that they had done, the books that they had placed, the magazines, the Watchtower and the Awake, or so forth, how many times they'd called back on interest, how many Bible studies you had conducted. And she seemed to indicate that this was a wonderful thing and that that showed how interested Jehovah was in this house-to-house ministry. Now, on a point of interest, I remember being a child, and this was in the 70s, and seeing that board in our local Kingdom Hall in Geelong, Victoria, Australia. Now, I remember that very clearly. Now, in later years, when the issue about hours came up, I remember mentioning to local Jehovah's Witnesses here in Queensland about how I remember as a young person, a young child actually, seeing this board with everybody's name on that board, and you could see how many John Smith or Jenny Smith or Sister Jones or whoever happened to be, how much activity that they had been doing. Now, the interesting thing was that Jehovah's Witnesses that I spoke to had no idea that that was even the practice. In actual fact, many of the elders and circuit overseers denied that there was ever such a public display to other witnesses of what you had done. Now, that's just a local thing. My point is, in the time to come, there will be Jehovah's Witnesses that will say we never kept ours. Okay? Never kept them. We never did it. Okay? This is the kind of etch-a-sketch, to put it that way, the etch-a-sketch of memory associated with the rituals. And that's what they are, the ungodly rituals of Watchtower. Now, what also was interesting in the time since I made my last video was that we had, of course, the exit of Anthony Morris III, and then we had new members of the governing body. Now, from now on, I'm not going to mention these men's names anymore. And the reason is because what they have done and what they continue to do is such an abomination to the Christian faith that their personal names don't matter anymore. Okay, we spent enough time campaigning of the excesses of Anthony Morris III and so forth, and in a sense we were vindicated by him no longer being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But as a precedent, from now on, I'm not going to mention the individual names. But one of the new members of the governing body claimed after the change, this is just now, claimed that the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, this is at their AGM, that Jehovah's Witnesses, that's the governing body, are neither infallible or inspired, and that they are just waiting for Jehovah to give them the new light, and because of that, there's no need for them to apologise. Now, that means that for all of the families, all of the people that faithful Jehovah's Witnesses that spent their whole lives essentially chasing hours because the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses told them that that was a prerequisite of them to be in good standing with Jehovah. Now they say that Jehovah, he's refined their thinking and they don't need to apologize for anything that they have said or done before. Now, as I said in previous videos from the time of the 1960s forward, where they had the prohibition on blood transfusion, organ transplants, and blood fractions, and we're now still hanging on to the blood policy, not the organ transplants, which was referred to as cannibalism, and also the blood fractions. That's gone by the by and by. And so what has happened now is that every policy that was death dealing, every policy that destroyed people's lives, okay, the torturous policies of Watchtower, okay, the new light somehow exonerates them, or absolves them, I should say, from saying sorry. Now, I want to actually want to share with you some of, well, it's not my research, I suppose, but going back into some of the older publications. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because if there is Jehovah's Witnesses who are of mature years, who have gone through all of this, and now that there's no need to even put in your hours, I want you to think about everything that was said to you previously as to why you needed to do it, and it was always indicated that that is what Jehovah expected. Okay? I want you to think about that now to find out that it wasn't. How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel that these men, and this is what they are, this octopope, or probably a even bigger group now, a Pope committee, to put it that way, the Jehovah's Witness version of a Pope committee, have lorded it over you, over your families, and the things that many people felt that were burdensome, were distressing, you were having a financial loss, was not necessary. How do you feel now that it's up to their conscience what hours they put in? It's up to them how they go about their ministry. I remember when I was a Jehovah's Witness, there was one of the only ways that you could essentially count your time was in the official door-to-door ministry. For instance, they used to call, if you were talking to a workmate or a colleague or just a friend that wasn't Jehovah's Witness, they would call that accidental witnessing. Then it changed to incidental witnessing, but it was called accidental witnessing. Okay? Now, while that was encouraged, you weren't allowed to count that time. Okay, that wasn't recognised that it would be able to go on your slip. Okay, on your report. Imagine that. Now, today, any form of organised ministry, whether it's at the carts, whether it's writing these cut and paste letters that they send out by the millions, whatever time you spend writing, copying those letters and sending that's all allowed to be, allowed to be reported. If a tradesperson came to the house and you happened to speak to the person while they're in your home, you're allowed to count that. And now it's up to you how you count that time. All you have to do is to nominate that you have been involved in any part of the ministry. Now, the point is, how do you feel about that? The sacrifices that you made. And the question is, if you had have known that it wasn't sanctioned by God, would you have made the sacrifices that you did? I can't answer it for you, but would that have made a difference? Would you have done that? And the answer probably is you may not have. And the pressures and the stresses that one's felt to live up to these essentially ungodly, because they didn't come from God, they came from men, these ungodly rules, and the effect that it had on people, does that deserve an apology? Well, according to Watchtower, it's not. But to give you an example of the depravity of Watchtower, I want to turn your attention to the Watchtower of March the 1st, 1984. And the striking heading of this Watchtower is quite amazing. Inhumanity, will it ever end? Great. Inhumanity, will it ever end? A great question, and I'm sure that Watchtower would have no problem answering that question. But on page 18 of that article, or that magazine of the Watchtower of March the 1st of 1984, paragraph 12 of Why Kingdom Unity, this is what they say. And I'll read halfway down verse 12. It has been thrilling to see the fulfillment of Jesus' sign showing that the kingdom was established in the heavens in that momentous year 1914. Interesting. Get ready for this. And Jesus told us to rejoice at seeing the dark storm clouds of Armageddon gathering since that time. Right, you ready for this? He has told us that the generation of 1914, the year that the sign began to be fulfilled, will by no means pass away until all these things occur. Some of that, going on to page 19, some of that generation could survive until the end of the century, but there are many indications that the end is much sooner than that. Okay, let's go back again. So for you to check this up, and please do, March the 1st of 1984, Watchtower, and the title of that Watchtower is quite incredible. Inhumanity, will it ever end? Governing body know all about inhumanity. And on page 18, under the subheading, Why Kingdom Unity, and I'll read it again from, I'll read from the middle. And Jesus has told us to rejoice at seeing the dark storm clouds of Armageddon gathering since that time. He has told us that the generation of 1914, the year that the sign began to be fulfilled, will by no means pass away until these things occur. And quoting Matthew chapter 24, verses 34. My friends, this is not just blind men leading bamboozled, hypnotized people. These are blasphemous people. And the governing body announced that although they are not inspired and they're not infallible, there's no need for them to apologize. Now, my friends, if you are a Christian and you had the audacity, I can't imagine any of us would ever say it, but, and Jesus told us, okay, Jesus told us, and that's repeated twice in that paragraph, and that what they claimed Jesus told them by their own admission, because the light has changed, was outright demonic lies. My friends, it really is time for those who are waking up to make a genuine stand for their Christian beliefs. Okay, this is very serious now. Okay, very, very serious. Okay, now I also would like to share with you the Watchtower, and I've actually got the hard copy. Hope you can see that. The hard copy of the Watchtower of October the 1st, 1949, and the first article on this Watchtower is, believe it or not, this is from 1949, is it nearer than they think? Okay? This article, and I'll just get to this point here I wanted to show you. This is what it says. I'll just read a little bit here. It says, Jehovah's Day is the time of mankind's deliverance. It comes the day of destruction to the enemies and oppressors. It is a time for those foes of God and mankind to howl. But for all those who long for righteousness, the trumpet that day will be glorious despite its fearfulness. All these things and desirable are to be gained by the day, and the chief of which is the vindication of Jehovah as the universal sovereign, by wiping out the powerful organizations which has dominated this evil world and fought all of Jehovah's good moves for blessing mankind. Goes on to say, when served notice of its coming, they either do not believe it or else postpone it as far into the future beyond their day. But the facts since 1914 have plainly inscribed in the handwriting of doom upon the wall of that organization. A prophet greater than Daniel is interpreting the meaning, and his reliable interpretations show that the day of Jehovah is nearer than any of them think. Okay, so the governing body today throws Jehovah under the bus by saying only when he's good and ready does he give them new light or refinements. But in this article here, this prophet that is a prophet greater than Daniel, well, that is talking about Jesus. Okay, that's what they're really indicating. A prophet greater than Daniel is interpreting the meaning, and his reliable interpretations show that the day of Jehovah is nearer than any of them think. So they have thrown Jesus Christ absolutely under the wheels of the bus. My friends, Jehovah's Witnesses, the organisation that I was baptised into in the year 1987, doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't. Okay? Kingdom halls have been sold off. Nearly everything that we held dear was proved by their own words to be fake and phony and old light. And nobody is sacred. Okay? Not Jesus Christ, not Jehovah, nobody. Not the publishers, not the people that died because of the blood issues, not people that have spent their lives because they were lied to about the nearness of the times. I probably don't have time to show this. I was going to show you this book, From Paradise Lost to Paradise Regained. But these books, and this was printed in, let's have a look what year that was in, 1958. So our parents' generations, or grandparents' generation, depending on your age, have been hoodwinked into a life of man worship, and may I say, into the worst kind of idolatry. And what has been thrown on the altar of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses is, of course, Jesus Christ. And then even their God, Jehovah, has been thrown under the bus because he has been made out to be a cruel and treacherous God that twists the knife with his beloved followers. My friends, I hope that this video, especially for those of you who are waking up, I hope that this video is one of the things that gets you to realize that whatever we felt, collective we, whatever we felt about this organization, this religion that many of us held very dear, it is basically, it's gone out of business. Okay, that's the way it is. In a few years' time, it wouldn't surprise me if they even changed their name altogether, and the whole idea of Jehovah's Witnesses was little more than a footnote to religious history. That's the way things are going. So I hope that this video, after all this time, is at least informative for you. I'm certainly, when I get time, I'll produce more videos, but I want to also, at the end of this, say thank you to the likes of Mike and Kim, who have been doing an absolutely stellar job where others haven't been able to produce as many videos, and as often they have kept up the fight. And there's a huge amount of new activists who are just so smart and so amazing. And I hope that all of you that have the ability to speak up, I hope, first of all, you speak up to your family and your friends, because just from what I've outlined here today and what has been announced by the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, nothing is sacred. Nothing, absolutely nothing is sacred to this group. And I hope and pray that those who are Christian, who love Christ, love the Bible, they actually get out. I really mean that. And for those who are not religiously inclined or are waking up, that they don't feel that way, please make the plunge to leave, because this is an organisation that has no loyalty to anybody bar its ruling elite. I'm Matt Christopher, and thank you for watching this video. I know it's been a long time, and hopefully I'll be able to produce a few more. Thank you.